There. Good.
And for Zoom. All right, let me sort out how to share this properly. All right, what do you see?
I see leading change from the bottom.
And only that?
And only that.
Okay, good. So welcome. I am not a fancy pants, and so as such, I am just speaking from experience and am really open to questions, comments, whatever throughout. So stop me or bring up a related story or whatever it is. We're here for it. So we're going to start by talking about traditional management. And when I say traditional management, what do you think of?
I'm the manager, do as I say.
Command and
Mhm.
control.
Yep,
Mhm.
command and control.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people think of this guy. It's kind of the
Literally what I thought of.
the mascot for traditional management. And for a long time, it's exactly that. It's been thought of as hierarchy and wielding power and getting a bunch of money and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people might want to aspire into a management or leadership position for those reasons, hence the stereotype. But like, who wants to work for this guy? Anybody? No. Have you had a manager like that?
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was it? Like, how did that end up?
I
We
changed.
nicknamed him Lumberg.
Yeah, you can either change your job or you can change your job.
Yeah. Yeah. So not super great. So here's the usual org chart. I mean, we've all seen 800,000 of these. The people at the bottom work for the people above them. They're accountable for getting work done and achieving the goals for their bosses, then on and on up the chain to this massive goals for the company thing. It's a very vast and exciting network of direct reports. And there's a hierarchy there. If the vice president sees that an associate is not performing, it's the associate's manager's job to have a talk to them and whip them into shape and get them to toe the company line. Has anybody led or been a part of a structure like this in a leadership or management capacity? And have you been able to affect change within a hierarchy like this? Yes for Steve.
Yep.
Have you been able to do this if you were not in a position of power within the hierarchy?
Nope.
Just checking.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to an example. Let's say your company are the fine purveyors of whatever the hell this is. Your team makes 2 of them a week, say, but your boss wants you to make like 6 of them a week. What are some things we might hear to tweak this number in a more traditional setting? We got a triple throughput, folks. Well, what are we going to do?
More status meetings.
Mm,
So I know what they're doing because they're
mhm,
definitely not working hard enough.
obviously.
We'll just
4
crank
times
up.
as many people.
Yep.
Yep.
Speed up the assembly line.
Yep. That's usually what you hear. Okay, so let's be more simple. So your boss says you specifically, not just your team, you specifically have to make 1.75 of this blob thing. Is it a blobfish? I think it's a blobfish. And so they tell you that. Transparency, communication, amazing. They've given you a clear and direct goal. You only made 0.75 of that thing, despite the absolute clarity of the goal setting exercise. You are obviously a bad employee. There's no other way to read this. You're getting a low review score. Oh my gosh, your review score is super low. You're obviously not even trying hard enough to support the goals of this company. We are family here. This is your formal warning. I filed it with HR, and it says that you suck. So since you suck, your boss is gonna make a plan for you, which is super helpful and nice, right? Transparency, communication, clear direct goals. Okay, so here's your plan. Each week you just have to make 0.25 more of that thing. Nice small batches, nice little steps. By the end of the plan, you're making 1.75 of the thing. That's all you have to do. Clear. No, you magically did not do that. Even though your boss so graciously made that for you. Took all that time to make an Excel spreadsheet for you. You're not getting any raises, and you're certainly not getting any bonuses. Sometimes your boss just yells at you. Been there like a lot of times. So did any of that change anything?
Lower performance.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we missing here? Better figure it out, I guess, because your boss isn't going to. So this is a quote that I really loved from Camille Fournier. When you strip creative and talented people of their autonomy, they lose motivation very quickly. For example, when your boss says you have to do exactly this thing or else you're bad, probably you're not going to be super into getting that thing done. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm positing, and it's not novel. Lots of other people have posited it, but leadership should really be thought of as more of support structures. So not how many reports you can collect and wield, how many people you can realistically support. Not how you can force people to do what you want them to do. You know, I'm the best manipulator around here. I can get 20 people to make 2 blobs a week. But how can you help them achieve not just a company goal, but what are their goals within that, and provide whatever help and support is needed? All right, so that sounds great, but what does that mean? I have a made-up quote from a real person in an imaginary role to help us. Missy Elliott, if she were a leadership coach. Put your chart down, flip it, and reverse it. What gut reaction do you have to this picture?
There's a lot weighing down on the CEO.
That's a good one. Bueller.
Associates are the most important part, as they're at the top.
Mm.
Not very readable.
Not very readable.
You're not wrong.
You don't need the CEO unless the VPs just can't figure something out. It's like
So
the next levels of support.
It's about support and accountability to each other. So someone at the very top of the chart should have the most support in the company to get things done and to grow. That's kind of what I think of looking at this flipped chart. It's more of a tree and less of a trickle down of hell. So if you lead people, go ahead.
My question is, where's the direction being provided? Because typically the CEO and the managers are going to provide direction, right? So where's the strategy? Where's the goal? Where are the objectives? Where are they coming from in this org chart?
Yeah. So just because somebody is providing those things doesn't mean they need to have power over everyone else, if that makes sense. It could be this person, it could be a group of people, an executive board, whatever it is. There can still be a CEO setting a direction, but instead of demanding work gets done to meet that direction, that person will support other people in aiming towards something that might look like that direction, because real talk, making a great big company-wide decision for everybody how everything's going to work, absolutely not going to happen.
I think that's a big issue is where, you know, people down at the top of this org chart, they may or may not agree with the best way to meet the objectives and the goals of the company. And so they may be very empowered, but if they don't know what they're empowered to do, then where does that leave you?
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. Well, let's keep digging in here. So the one main thing of this is to stop thinking about the people that you are in charge of as your direct reports, like they report to you, and you can kind of replace that if you're saying that all the time with direct supports to kind of help you linguistically keep that in your mind. Your job is to support that person. I know it's weird, but whatever. Okay, so cool. How does this help me lead change? Now that you're thinking of things as support, you have a new lens. That's the support monocle. And you can take it with you wherever you can screenshot it and carry it around in your pocket. Let's try applying it. Okay, here's a scenario. These people are not performing. Super angry lumber guy. Change is hard. Growth is hard. It's easy to get frustrated. And it's super, super easy to default to judgment about people's ability or about people's attitude. Well, that is a good time to put on the support monocle. So what is really going on here? We got to find the struggle. Everyone's not just a jerk, right? Everyone's not just an idiot. That doesn't make any sense. All these people were hired on purpose, maybe even by you. And if they're not doing well, why? Maybe they're not feeling very listened to. Maybe they need training and they're afraid to ask for it. Maybe they've got something going on at home. Maybe they're just not very happy in their role. It could be like a million things that aren't that they're like a dumb jerk who just want to make you look really bad. Right? Maybe it's that the overall strategy that CEO set without talking to anybody else at all is not very achievable. So here's something from Daniel Pink. With 3 innate psychological needs: competence, autonomy, and relatedness. When those needs are satisfied, we're motivated, productive, and happy. I think we're talking a lot about autonomy here, but those other things can be supported as well, right? To get what we need, not just for, again, the company or the bottom line, but as a group of human beings that are doing something together. So support the human. Find out what's going on there. Find out how you can help. Get them training, make space for them in meetings, stand up for them if, the big angry boss over there is yelling at them. You can provide that shield, find them a mentor, help them chart their ideal career path, or even any career path that might be more in line with their interests. Just support their growth, even if that means a different team or a different company. All right, crickets. I'm gonna go to the next one. All right, I have the answer. I see this so often, especially in the software field. I have the answers to all your questions, and I've seen it with so many leaders in software. They got this far by knowing what to do, how to do it. They have tons of experience in the area. They're used to doing the work, okay? When the team is working on a problem and they already know how to fix it, maybe it's time to take a pause. Support monocle. Leaders grow leaders. So every time you have the urge to jump in and tell your team how to do something, stop. You're not helping them learn, you're commanding minions. This is from a coworker of mine, but I really liked it in a talk of his that he gave the day before the first time I did this one, and so I put it right in my slide deck. Getting stuck is a necessary step toward insight. If you provide the answer, they have missed that little bit of elastic brain work there that gave them the insight to get there. You've robbed someone of learning. It's super important to get and be stuck. There's another one, Laura Hogan, who's also amazing. If you don't know any of these people that I'm talking about, that's fine, but you should definitely look them up and read their various books. So coaching mode, a mode that leaders should be in my opinion, is all about helping your teammate develop their own brain wrinkles rather than telling them how you would do it. The introspection and creativity it inspires creates deep and long-lasting growth. That's really the kicker there. It's not about getting the thing done. It's about all of us helping each other grow and learn and be happy. It doesn't mean you're wrong, by the way. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's what they come around to. I'm not saying let the entire world burn down, but just guide and be curious. Let an awkward silence settle. Someone will have an idea. Guaranteed. It might be uncomfortable how long it might take, but somebody will absolutely have an idea. Allow the team to experiment and take small steps. Allow mistakes. Change can only be organic. Safety can only be organic. All right. Here's the next situation we run into often as leaders. Nobody knows what to do. If everyone's feeling stuck, maybe the team is just missing some knowledge or some guidance, and maybe you don't have it either, which is fine. That doesn't feel great. It feels super uncomfortable for all involved. And it might even feel a little bit spooky, like, what am I going to do? Lose my job now if I admit that I don't know what to do? Just put the brakes on the existential crisis. All right, take a couple deep breaths, and then let's see what the support monocle can show us. Bring in knowledge. Weird thought. It's okay to admit that you need to bring in knowledge. That's totally fine. Get the people who know the stuff into the room. Even if they're in your same company on a different team, bring them to your team. Work together with them. Bring in speakers for lunch and learns. Bring in consultants. You don't have to sign up for 87 years with an agile consultancy to transform a department. Bring a consultant into your team for a month and see what happens. The end. Bring in people who can add tools to the toolbox of your team. So prioritize finding that knowledge and let your team use what's applicable. You know, I would not say hire someone to do a rigid framework thing or a strict rule thing to your team, but somebody who's going to work with your team to help unblock them, to help them move forward and learn and grow. All right, talking trash. All the meetings are silent. Please see the side eye. Or maybe people are having impassioned conversations like right up until you walk in, then everyone shuts up. Maybe you work with a bunch of rude bullies. Let's find out. Sounds like maybe your team isn't feeling like they can safely voice their opinions. Maybe they like whatever changes you're trying to propagate, but they don't feel like they can even try because mistakes are too costly or might even cost their job. You can ask for feedback. In these situations, that's got a long tail on it because they already don't want to tell you any feedback. But the more often you ask for feedback and demonstrate that it's safe to give you feedback, the more that will start to loosen up. You can untangle that knot. You can ask for feedback about the work, about whatever changes. You can ask for feedback about yourself, your own style. One of the more enlightening practices that I've had is in one-on-ones, I will ask about feedback for the one-on-one. I'll ask for feedback about how I'm supporting them in that environment. Is this super boring to you? Is this not a useful thing? That's fine. How can we make it worth your time? Otherwise, let's not bother. Some of it'll help. Some of it'll just be like venting. You know, it's not your job to correct anyone's thoughts or fears. You just have to be the safe space they can come to and talk about these things. Sometimes there's something to do about it. Sometimes they just need to vent, like I said. But it does give people safety to be authentic and creative at work. And it creates the connection that is absolutely needed for experimentation and mistakes to be okay, which again is the only way change can happen. All right, so these are some pretty good books by the folks I mentioned throughout. I'm not going to read them to you, but there they are. They're good ones. And I'm curious if there are any takeaways here. What did you get out of this, if anything? What would you rather I didn't talk about in the future? I'm asking for feedback.
Are there any managers hearing this message?
I don't know you all. Are any of you in leadership?
I know some of us are. So
Yeah.
some.
Yeah. It's a hard row to hoe for sure. I've been in leadership and I applaud these things. And exactly what I think it was Daniel was talking about earlier, you just run into a brick wall of a CEO or something. You're not going to change your entire hierarchy. You're not going to change your entire org chart, but you can change your section of it. You can change the way that you relate to the people that you're supporting. You can use these ideas to advocate for yourself in talking to whoever you report to.
And for me, that's how I've always approached it when I've been in those management positions is I'm gonna do grassroots. I'm going to work with the team and let the team manage themselves and help them learn different techniques to do that.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that was selfish because that made my job a lot easier. It made it harder in some ways, but easier in others.
Mm-hmm.
What you're talking about is a organizational bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're kind of introducing a new culture, but the existing culture, that's like, culture shock basically for them. So you're okay, I'm going to isolate what I can, and then you're the anti-corruption layer between.
Yes, that's exactly it. As you become the shield there.
Yep.
This is we're talking about servant leadership, of course, but I think it's a step further. We're talking about supportive leadership, growth leadership, not growth in a angel investor sense, but in a human happiness sense.
Uh, you know, shit shield, support shield. From a programmer perspective, I like to say I'm an adapter in between the team and the rest of the org.
Oh my God. I was literally thinking that, and I was like, that's too nerdy. Don't say that.
I mean, I said anti-corruption because I was just reading the domain-driven design book again recently.
I've
Yeah.
heard managers say that when they try to play that adapter role, that it's especially exhausting.
It is.
And so I worry about that. Also, as soon as a reorg comes along, we lose that.
Mm. Yeah. Yep, that's true. But also, you can only maintain a safe, what did you say, organizational bubble as long as you can hold it up. I'm not saying throw yourself on the tracks, saying do it. And if you can't do it anymore, then like Steve said, change your job or change your job.
Yeah, everything's eventual. The bubble will pop. I've been in that situation, and yeah, within 2 weeks after that, they left. It was very clear with the new leadership that kind of came in above the leader that was providing the bubble for me, that was not going to work out.
Yeah, we used to refer to the last company I was at, the last team I was at the last company I was at. This guy referred to it as having a moat around our team, and so I added to it that it was full of angry alligators, And the thing he at some point left our team, and to keep up the moat though just requires at least one team member that's willing to sort of be the master of the moat, right?
Mhm.
And to keep on filling it with angry alligators, which really meant we went through a whole bunch of managers.
Mhm.
And that manager, the poo umbrella or shit shield or whatever you want to call them, is the angry alligator, at least one of them, right? And so when we'd get a new manager, because we went through like several in 1 year, it was just stupid.
Mhm.
We would train them to be our manager because we were the only last remaining XP bubble
Mhm.
in a mid-sized company. Everybody else was practicing safe, and we were like, that's just stupid. We're the most productive team in the company, and we're going to stay that way, and we're not going to play that game.
Yeah.
So anyways, we would train them, to be our manager and basically tell them what they need to hear while you're allowing us to do what we need to do.
Yeah, you were supporting their growth as a manager.
Yeah, you were the manager's direct support.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting. You reversed. Yeah, you reversed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
product owners as well. We whenever we'd get a new product owner, my first line of business was let's train the product manager.
Yep. The other thing too is that there's no hard and fast rule that the person who is playing that role has to be one person. It can be a rotating role for a team.
Mhm.
You don't have to get super burned out with it.
Yep. So some of the lessons that I've learned and I'm still learning because this is new. This is how I've been trying to affect change more and more, is not only I can help support a team and nurture a team and create a high performing team or set of teams nowadays. It's creating that bubble and changing the organization. And I've been learning more and more lessons on managing up,
Mhm.
and up and sideways across.
Yeah.
And so trying to not only say, hey, here's a great team and keep that team great and awesome.
Mhm.
Not that I'm keeping it great, just making sure that they have space to be great and awesome,
Right.
but also start changing minds of other managers that are peers and then
Mhm.
other leaders above me to say,
Yeah.
it's actually okay to do it this way. It's a change,
Mhm.
but look at the outcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not just that, those relationships and those directions of managing up are support relationships.
Mhm.
The same things apply in all of these situations.
Yep.
Your boss is mad and yelling at you. Is it because they're a dumb jerk who wants to make you look bad? Maybe not. Maybe you can figure out how to support that person and help them grow and find happiness in their career.
Mhm.
Maybe you can't, and it's time to find a new job.
Yeah, it kind of
The other
reminds me of
secret too is that this is just what I do as a consultant anyways. And so when I carried that with me into leadership positions, I was like, oh, other leaders don't have the consulting experience. They don't know how to teach people or support them.
Or to be vulnerable.
Yep. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was talking about with figuring out how to advocate for yourself. It's not always 100% of the time going to work, but being able to say, you're right, I didn't hit X goal. This is the support I need to get there. I bet next time they run into somebody who doesn't hit X goal, they're going to think, I wonder if they need some support to get there.
Or really change it, and a manager comes and says, you didn't hit your goal. What did I do wrong? What do you need from me?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's that base default setting of not blame, not power, but support and growth and curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. I left a lot more time for people to talk throughout that than they did. So that's where we are. Oh yeah, I made this slide. So if you are struggling with this in any areas of your organization, I'm happy to help. Hire me. I work for Industrial Logic at the moment, and so you can hire me through there.
And I'll second that. There are a lot of good folks at Industrial Logic. I see, Cody's at IL, who's here, Mike's here. Just looking down the list. There are a lot of good folks there, a lot of good coaches, a lot of good crafters that can do a lot of good things on team. And one of the interesting things that Amber brought up is you don't have to commit for something for 2 years or a lifetime. Industrial Logic's a shop where you could say, I'd like to just try out a coach for a month and see what impact.
literally doing that for somebody, I believe, right now. So yeah, and
Hey, I
they
watched
did that
Amber
once,
talk
and
about this.
they came back for
Yeah.
double dip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see any of these comments when I was rambling.
Well, I can feel, I'm loving a lot of the different ideas that got thrown out here. Jim's and Steve's and Amber's, of course. And a couple of things I've seen the bubble where you've got a really good manager in what would otherwise be kind of a caustic organization. And they've been able to sort of shield the team or whatever from the rest of it. And I love what Jim was saying, where they could feed him what he needed to be able to report, to stay within, the constraints of what the organization is looking for. But yet that provided them the freedom to be able to do what they wanted within the team. And I've seen that, and it is really good. The other thing I've seen is the idea of Chet. And that is you need someone to blame, or we'll blame Chet. And so this was like an early XP cultural thing, which was like Chet would take the blame. Okay, fine. Now we have someone to blame. Now let's get that aside and move on to what's important, which is actually fixing whatever happened to go wrong. So
Yeah.
just the idea of being able to blame something stupid, or even always the same person, whatever. The person was obviously strong enough to take the blame.
That's why Chet is so small now. He had all that blame on him.
But that can be really useful too, because you can get people right past, why are we trying to figure out who to blame? I was working at one place where the website was always the culprit. Oh, it's always the website's fault. And, at first we were trying to exonerate ourselves and go, no, it wasn't the website. It was actually this back-end service. It was this or that. And finally we realized that by the time you prove yourself innocent, no one cares. And so we just like, okay, fine, we'll fix it, and we'll find out who it was who really did it and tell them to fix their stuff.
I just posted a link. I saw this thing in a random Facebook group the other day. It was just blame John. Just some guy. He's making himself available to be blamed for all things except Donald Trump.
See?
There's probably an app for that. Yeah. One of the things, and I've been a manager, sort of manager, on a team that Jim was on, where we had that bubble. And there's that manager does feel the support from below, and it can help.
Mhm.
Because as Mike says, it's a caustic environment. It wears you down and wears you down. Tammy's asking for the slide of books again, really quick.
Yeah. I'll copy it.
And having the support from the people you're managing or that report to you is very helpful. Yeah. Knowing they got your back can help.
Yeah, you're kind of not the champion, but you're the spokesperson for the team at that point. So you know why you're dealing with the pain. It helps. Yeah, it helps out for sure. And I think that's what's funny is for the team members too, like going back to autonomy, the first time that I was on a team where we stopped, manager left, that manager was used to assigning everybody work. And the new manager and me joined this team, and we're like, oh, we're not doing that anymore. And then, upper manager's afraid, oh, but what about the things nobody wants to do? And that's where somebody's going to sign up for that work and feel the same way that the leader feels in that situation, which is, you know what, this work kind of sucks, but I'm here for the team. Maybe there's a way we can make this better. I'm trying to make this good environment for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kind of
When it becomes a team sport,
yep,
instead of individual contributors, you can feel the difference.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
don't know
one
how
of the.
sports work, but
I don't know how many on this call are familiar with fast agile, but with fast, I think that's one of the concerns that people that aren't experienced with actually doing it have is, well, what about the work that when you're talking about self-organizing teams, like you're gonna let the developers and the analysts and the DBAs and whoever like self-organize onto the stories and these swim lanes? Are you kidding? Like, what about the stuff that nobody wants to do? And what actually happens though is that we're all adults and we do what needs to be done. I've seen it happen, and so yeah.
that's exactly it. Is if you don't trust the people that work for you, that's a big you problem, because
Mm-hmm.
they're all adults who know how to do their job.
Yep.
They're not a bunch of kids at a daycare, building a shitty Jenga tower.
Well,
That's what.
most of us live in a house or an apartment that we rent And guess what? I'm guessing all of us have cleaned the toilet. Probably not our favorite job, but it gets done. Take out the garbage, same thing. Although I've known some people where it's a little questionable.
This
Yeah.
isn't my story, but there was another agile coach that talked about a team that she was on, and there was this one guy who was just a real pill. No one really liked him, and he was rather prickly. But he would do all the stuff that none of them wanted to do, and so they were tolerating him. It was like they had a symbiosis going on. He takes care of the stuff that we really don't want to do, but we, you know, we put up with his other stuff.
Yeah, the interesting thing though is that when you do start allowing self-organization like that, is that, you know, the statement, "Oh, we're all adults here." Well, you find out if there are any on your team that aren't, you know, and then they don't usually last all that long.
Yep. Exactly. And
One,
that's fine.
yeah. One of
Or
the
maybe there's
interesting
something you can do
things,
to support that person's growth.
yeah. In the team I was with Jim on, we were using, you know, we're adults here. And after doing that for about 3 months, HR came and talked to us and said, okay, we've been hearing people are using this term, we're all adults here. We can't use that term anymore because that's offending people. It's like,
Was it offending children?
The team that built the Jenga blocks, you offended them?
yeah.
There were always people at that company that would be offended by something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
They
ridiculous.
need to grow up.
Well, we're doing the thing right now. I bet those people just needed some support.
I think
Yeah.
they'd be very offended
Sure,
by this meetup.
I wonder why.
I think there's a reason why Jim and I don't work at that company anymore.
Yeah.
It just took me longer to leave, Steve.
But I mean, I do think what we're talking about here is the root of all of this, right? Like, no matter what you call it, if you're leading change from the bottom or whatever you're calling it, it's about seeing other people as whole entire people worth of value. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to numbers in a spreadsheet or a cog in a capitalist hellscape, you know, whatever it is. And trying to keep in mind that other people are also entire people worthy of value.
Right. Teaching them to not call us resources is a trick.
Yeah.
Once you start actually teaching your managers and their managers to call people and to call money resources and computers resources, it kind of it helps.
Yeah.
But then
That's what I'm
once
wondering.
there's attrition and then that all gets swapped out through reorgs and attrition and everything else, and it's like you're back in square one. You're like, oh, here we go again. God.
That's what I'm wondering with the term direct support. I wonder if like language does change a lot. Like actually referring, oh, you know, you're not like we're going to use the term direct support for managers from now on.
I did this as a director of engineering. I did it with all of my managers and, you know, made this change and it was, you could feel the difference in the company.
Okay.
And people were saying, they would come to me and say, oh, I saw so-and-so who quit last year. And I said, it's too bad you quit because it's so much better now and blah, 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 blah.
That's really interesting. It's like I work for a very small company. I think there's probably like 20 people in the whole company. There's 3 of us engineers, but we're going to be growing at some point here. And I think I'm going to start doing that. Like, because now's the time to do it when we're small.
Yeah.
Right. Because, and then as we grow, we'll be growing sort of that inverted the upside down pyramid that you showed instead. Interesting.
I'd love to hear how that goes for you for sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
I wonder how you could change that because I know a number of us here are coaches, you know, technical coaches. I wonder if that is developer support. Because coaching has can have a negative connotation as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it doesn't matter what you are calling it necessarily as long as it's That's the main root of it, right? So if it's your coworker, fine. If it's your manager, who cares? If it's your supporter, I don't think that's gonna fly in a corporate environment, but
Mhm.
I've heard sponsor, I've heard mentor, all of these have a very specific connotation that is not, it's less collaborative and more, I know everything, and so I'm gonna teach you it.
Mhm.
I got about 10 minutes left to grab lunch before I need to get back to doing stuff. So it's been a real pleasure talking to y'all.
Mhm.
It's been too
Yeah,
long.
likewise.
Seems like
Thanks.
the popcorn's winding down. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording really quick.